Hi, everybody, and welcome again to my blog and to my website. This month's post, I'm very excited to share with you something that I've been working on for the last year or so that's coming into fruition, and that's this upcoming conference called The Three Principles of Addiction Recovery, Exploring a New Paradigm for Transformation in Recovery. About a year ago, almost, now I had this idea pop into my head, an insight. Is when I first heard Sydney Banks almost 40 years ago now, I was working very deeply in the addiction field, working with treatment centers and training counselors, and most of my caseload was people in recovery. And when I heard Sydney Banks speak, and I started to realize the profundity of this paradigm shift that he was pointing to, the first thing that hit my head was, boy, this is going to transform the way we treat addictions. So that was my first seed or germination of an idea of taking this into the addiction field, which later, 10 years later, I wrote my first book, The Serenity Principle, which was a culmination of the experiences I was having working with people in recovery and just how powerful the understanding of the three principles was in terms of the quality of their recovery, the longevity of their recovery, the lessening of transfer to other addictions, to relapse. And so it's been my passion for the last 30 or 40 years to bring this to the recovery field. And I've worked with lots of treatment centers, including Hazelden, which is in Minnesota, which was the very first inpatient treatment center in the world, by the way. And St. Paul, where we're hosting this conference that's going to be coming up in May, has been a pioneer in training addiction professionals from all over the world in what's called the Minnesota model. So it's appropriate that we're going to be doing this conference on the three principles and their implications for addiction and recovery here in St. Paul at Metropolitan State University on May 14th through the 16th. So about 9 months ago now I was at a convention in Los Angeles and brought this idea up to a few of my colleagues, Dr. Amy Johnson in particular, and she caught on to the idea immediately. She's written a book called The Little Book of Big Change and has worked in the addiction field as well. And we said, let's do it. Let's host a conference. So we made an announcement at this conference in Los Angeles, and before we knew it, we had 30 people volunteering to be on our planning committee. So now, 9 months later, here we are. We've chosen our faculty. We've got the date. Metropolitan State University has generously offered to give us the venue for free so we can keep the cost down. And we brought together an amazing group of faculty from all over the world, Spain and London and all over the UK, many treatment centers around the United States who either I've consulted with or other people have that have trained their staff in the three principles paradigm. And the results are so promising and so hopeful that we wanted to host this conference here in St. Paul to share with other professionals in the addiction field, but also just people in recovery. So if you're listening to this, you might be wondering, is this conference for me? And so I'd like to just say a little bit about who the conference is for. Originally, I thought that the conference would be mostly for professionals who are already working in the addiction field to introduce them to the three principles paradigm and how it's transforming the way we do treatment. But since doing it, there's been so much interest from people who are in recovery who know a little bit about the principles or are curious about it for their enhancing their own recovery, but also for people who are in relationship with someone in addiction that they're concerned about or that they care about or they want to be more supportive in the recovery of the person who they're concerned about, but also for themselves. So this is for the layperson and the professional. And it's also for people who are in the three principles community who know a lot about the three principles, but know very little about addiction and running into it in their practice. And so this would help enhance your work in working with people with an addiction. But this has been my life's work is really, and my heartfelt work has been about working with addicts. So we've got lots of people coming from all over who will be sharing how this works in inpatient treatment, outpatient treatment, prison programs, school systems, with families who have a loved one who has an addiction. There'll be many authors there from around the country and other parts of the world who've written books about the 3 principles in addiction, including myself. And so to learn more about that, we have a banner at the bottom of this blog post with links to the Facebook page for the conference, as well as the website for the conference and my website. So I hope you'll check it out. And over the course of the next month or two, we'll be offering some free webinars. Dr. Amy Johnson and myself. Next week, Dr. Mark Howard from Los Angeles he and I will be giving kind of a brief introduction to our talk. And there'll be many of these. Stay posted to my website, my Facebook page, for more information in case you're a little curious about coming to this or you want more information. We also do have some scholarships available, so you can check that out. And we've made arrangements with local hotels if you're from out of town. We will also be live streaming the event. So if you can't make it personally, you'll still be able to come to it via the live streaming through your computer. So anyway, it's been great checking in with you. I will talk to you again in another month. And hope if you have any questions, you can certainly email me about that or check it out on my website. Thank you.